Hey everyone, I am the Only Resh and welcome to the channel. Recently we got some more info about Diablo 4 at BlizzConline 2021, which was the virtual replacement for BlizzCon this year. And we got a 27-minute presentation about Diablo 4, talking about open world mechanics and a new class and other things like that. And I wanted to make this video to condense that down a little bit so it's not so long and kind of get the important bits for you in a shorter form. And I also got a couple bits of information from a Q&A that was held recently with the game's director. And I will have both that 27-minute presentation and that 34-minute Q&A linked in the description below if you want to watch the entire thing of either of those. But enough about that, let's get into my condensed version, starting with the new class, the Rogue. So it's always a good thing to get new classes to open up new potential playstyles, so let's take a look at what the Rogue is all about. On the melee side, the Rogue can use swords and daggers, and for range they can use bows and crossbows. And we also looked at specializations for the Rogue, and these are kind of like different playstyles for the Rogue, and in the Q&A they said not every class will have quests that only that class can do, but there will be similar kinds of options with some of the other classes. But the way these work is you will work with one of the world groups of your class and do class-specific quests that no other class can do, and once you complete whichever quest line for whichever specialization you want, you can then activate the specialization. And the three specializations for the Rogue are Combo Points, Shadow Realm, and Exploit Weakness. The description that we see on screen for Combo Points says, your basic attacks now add Combo Points, and certain skills consume Combo Points for additional effects. The game's director, Luis Barriga, explains how Combo Points is his favorite specialization by saying this specialization lets you build multiple combo points which enhance your spender's effectiveness in combat. He continues saying you build up 3 points and spend them all at once for stronger versions of skills in combat, almost making a rhythm game out of combat between getting the 3 points, using them for a skill, getting 3 more, using a skill, and a rhythm like that. And next up we saw Shadow Realm. And the description we see on screen for this is become immune for 1 second and pull target enemies into the Shadow Realm with you for 5 seconds. In Shadow Realm, you become stealth, unstoppable, and deal 50% more damage to the afflicted enemies. The game's art director, John Mueller, explains why the Shadow Realm specialization is his favorite, because he can take a problem and make it smaller by taking like 3 enemies and pulling them into the Shadow Realm, killing them there, and then exiting the Shadow Realm to a smaller group of enemies. And the last specialization for the Rogue is Exploit Weakness. The description we see on screen for Exploit Weakness is you can exploit the weakness in certain enemy attacks. All hits against these enemies become critical strikes and deal 60% increased damage. Luis Barriga explains the Exploit Weakness specialization by saying that during some enemy attacks, players will see an icon flash above the enemy's head, during which time the player can retaliate with an attack with much more damage than an ordinary attack. So he says if you're quick on the draw, this is the specialization for you. And the next thing we saw for the Rogue is imbuing. This is another really cool thing the Rogue can do where you can take any ability and imbue it with different elements like frost, shadow, poison, and things like that. A smaller detail that I really liked is there are different death animations for enemies killed with different elements. Like if you kill an enemy with a frost imbue, they will freeze and shatter, or if you use poison or acid or something, the enemies will just melt away into an ooze. So those details are really cool. And if you combine imbued abilities from the Rogue with, let's say a friend is playing as a sorceress and they're using chill spells, the frost effects from the imbue will build up faster on enemies, so imbuing leads to a lot of cool possibilities when combined with abilities from other players. So moving on from the Rogue details, onto some open world details. First up we saw the mounts. There are a bunch of different mounts in Diablo 4, different breeds of horses, some crazy looking ones like a horse skeleton that's got some eerie smoke around it. And you can find different mounts by completing puzzles, finding different locations, slaying certain particular kinds of monsters, and things like that. You can also customize your mount with things like horse armor, hoof plates, which actually let you change the speed of your mount, which is really cool, trophies to show off your accomplishments, and more things like that. Another focus they had was staying away from any kind of combat from horseback because that's not what they believe the Diablo experience to be. But we will have some cool dismounting abilities to attack as we get off the mount, which is really cool. You will want to pay attention to when you should use those dismount abilities because if you're attacked while on your mount, you will be forced to dismount. Next up they talked about the camps, and these were described as strongholds of evil. And they said after some events from Reaper of Souls, there's a big power vacuum decades later, so different creatures and monsters have moved in and taken these areas for themselves. and you as the hero go to these camps and reclaim them for the people of Sanctuary. Once you clear and claim one of these camps, it has real after effects on the open world. After it's cleared out, it becomes a new waypoint for you that didn't previously exist, and now you've got things like vendors and blacksmiths there, as well as new NPCs to talk to with new quests, new stories to be told, dungeon entrances can appear, and all kinds of new things like that. They also talked about some more movement options in the world, and the developers basically wanted to add some more options for movement and ways for you to explore the open world in Diablo 4. So they've added more verticality with climbing up and down some ridges and jumping across chasms. Honestly, the only part of this that really interests me is not having to walk all the way around an area to get back to the bottom of a ramp or slope, because now you can just jump down or maybe climb up to the other level. Another really cool detail they put in this game for the open world was connecting different weapons and equipment to different regions. It's a pretty cool feature that gives each region its own style and makes them more memorable and gives the immersion that much deeper of a feeling. For some examples, when you pick up a sword in Kyrgyzstan, it's a scimitar, but if you're up in the north in Scotland, it's more of a broadsword. It's pretty much the same thing with armors too. When you get armor from a different place, it looks like it came from that region. This will lead to some really cool unique styles in the game, and I'm really excited to see what they've got there. And staying on the topic of cosmetics, they talked about the Cosmetic Customization, and this is something that looks like it got a lot of attention with Diablo 4 on a scale we haven't seen with any previous Diablo game, which is usually really exciting in RPGs, but I'm not sure how much some of it will really matter when your character is pretty much always so small on screen in Diablo games. But a really cool thing to look into anyway. They talk about cosmetics with the new rogue class, saying you can start with the iconic red armor, kind of looking like you're part of the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye from the original games, or you can really make your rogue look like whatever your vision of a rogue looks like. As another example, you can go for the more traditional RPG outlaw look with a hood and half mask, as a rogue being more in the shadows, and you can add some tattoos and scars, change your eye color, hair color, makeup, war paint, you can choose your gender. You can really make your vision of your class come to life here, and I love it. And they also talked about some PvP for Diablo 4, and the way PvP works here is pretty similar to the Dark Zone in the Division if you're familiar with that. There are optional areas in the world of Diablo 4 where you can run in, collect shards of hatred by completing events, killing monsters, opening chests, and things like that. And these shards are in an unpurified state when you pick them up, and you need to bring them to a purification event to turn them into this currency that you can use. So when you start that purification process, other players in the area see that it's happening, and they can run in and try to kill you to take your shards for themselves. But if you succeed with the purification event, the shards are yours and you don't have to worry about losing them. Also, the purification event is the only time you have to worry about other players. While you're in those optional areas running around collecting unpurified shards of hatred, there won't be any PvP to worry about from what they said in this presentation. So you can run around solo or with a partial squad collecting those shards while you wait for a friend or two to be able to join, and then you can start the purification PvP event when you're ready. And the items you can buy with that special currency are different mounts, costumes, weapons, and nothing that's necessarily stronger than what you can get in the rest of the game, but things that, quote, really speak to your desire as a PvP player, whatever that really means. And as you betray other players and steal more shards, you eventually become a vessel of hatred. Once this happens, every player in a large radius will be able to see you on their map as a threat. And with this vessel of hatred status, there is now a big bonus players get for killing you. But there is a set amount of time that you are a vessel of hatred, and if you survive that time without leaving or dying, you get a big bonus instead. One more thing I learned from the Q&A video is that there will be player-to-player trading in Diablo 4, which is something that was sorely missing in Diablo 3. The team is focused on having that social aspect in Diablo 4, and they are still figuring out the limitations with that, but it will be included. Both direct player-to-player trading as well as clan trading with the clan bank. So we got a lot of cool new details about Diablo 4, and I'm really excited to see more details going forward. Let me know in the comments what your favorite piece of news is here, and also let me know what you think of the new rogue class. If you want to get more game info videos like this, as well as top 10s, Twitch streams, discussions, gameplay, and other stuff like that, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, and you can also follow me and my content on other platforms like Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at The Only Resh. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, beat that boss, find that last collectible, roll those credits. I'm out.